Good evening and welcome again to Crash Clinic, the social network for independent vehicle repairers. Firstly, big apologies for last week. It wasn't live, but I hope I left you with enough content of interest, of course, because I had my daughters dance off. So you've got to put your kids first, of course. So the weeks go quicker and quicker. Don't know where the time goes. The heat is, for me, it's beautiful. A lot of people are moaning, but we're British. We moan when it's wet. We moan when it's dry. We can't win. But yes, the heat is playing havoc, especially in the repair industry. I know, obviously, we have temperatures in the spray booths. We could probably spray outside now and have hotter temperatures, but I do know it's playing havoc. So, yeah, tough times at the moment. But again, anyone who's joining in tonight, thanks. You've obviously seen that tonight's show is an industry face-off with, in the red corner, we have Mason-Drust, an insurance independent repair center, and in the blue corner we have myself, Darren Swann, a self-acclaimed non-fault guru and predominantly a non-fault repairer, but together we both face the same industry issues. And obviously at the times, these times now are very, very challenging. So I think tonight is going to be very interesting. Of course, if anyone out there has any questions, please drop them into the comments. And obviously, we'll do our best to answer those. And that's if you're not in the garden having a nice gin and tonic. But anyway, if you're here watching the show, thanks for your time. And I'm going to bring in our special guest,
Crash TV. And now introducing our next special guest, all the way from...
Hold on, let's try and add him in. Here we go. Wayne, how are we doing?
I'm all right. How are you, Darren?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Hope you didn't mind that introduction. Firstly, Wayne has just become a director of the NBRA. Now, I met a guy, a lovely guy, not too long ago, a guy called Christopher Weeks. Absolutely smashing guy, really lovely guy, the type of guy you'd like your daughter to bring home. Really, really lovely guy. But even though he's a smashing guy, I still don't know fully what the NBRA are all about, what they do. So I'm actually looking forward to this as well tonight, Wayne, because I wanted to start before me and you start talking about the industry. Tell me more about the NBRA. You've obviously just become a director. I'm pretty sure you'll have some a great effect doing that. So I want to know more. Pretty sure everyone else does. So tell us more, Wayne. Fire away.
Well, first of all, the NBRA is the National Body Repairers Association, to which any body shop, anyone involved in accident repairs and even supplier members can join the NBRA. Along with the NBRA, there still is the VBRA as well, which is geared more for the commercial body repairers. But just a slight correction, because I'm not a director of the NBRA. I'm a board member. Yeah.
Right.
So the NBRA is built up of its members, and then obviously members are selected onto the board to help advise and direct the board of the NBRA on the key issues which are going on within our industry. I am, however, a director of the RMI. Yeah. So right. which is the overall umbrella company for other trade associations, such as the Independent Garage Association, the National Franchise Dealers Association. There's quite a few associations there. But what that does is that gives us a wider view of the automotive industry from a lot of different angles, and we can feed into that them resources and feed into that information, into what's specific in our area of accident repair. So that's what the NBRA is. There's over 750 members combined, and we're looking at trying to grow the membership. We want to make sure that we're inclusive of
how many members?
So over 750. Over 750, yeah.
Okay.
And that does also combine some of the VBRA members as well. So
right, oh yeah.
We look at all facets of the accident repair industry. So we can see clearly within the marketplace, there's lots of dynamic businesses that now operate in the accident repair space, from literally small independent repairers. You could actually be, one of our Independent Garage Association members as well, that does a little bit of bodywork on the side, right up to regional groups or even national groups. So we're all encompassing encompassing of all of the interests of anybody who operates within the UK body repair industry from a repairing perspective.
So as a member, I wanted to join. What's the benefits?
There's lots of different benefits. I couldn't list them all out on tonight's show, but what I do urge people is direct them to the MBRA body website, which is mbra.org. Yeah, you'll find information on there, information on how to become a member. But there's a whole raft of solutions and help and assistance that we provide to our members.
Brilliant. Well, I might have to speak to Chris. Something that I think the show is all about: telling people, introducing people, and we've got nowhere where we can find more and more stuff. And that's the whole idea of Crash Clinic, is to bring all repairers to Crash Clinic, to this show once a week, so we can find out more information, how we can do things better, and how the industry, just to know more about an industry that we're all in, of course. We've got people just starting to join in. Unfortunately, I don't know who this one is. It says, "Hi, Wayne and Darren." Hello, whoever you are, Mr. Anonymous. We've got Andrew Southam. How you doing, buddy? Thanks for joining in. We've got Mike Collier. Nice to see you again. Fantastic. So more and more people are just joining in. And I think that probably leads us into start round one. Ding, ding. Yeah. So I'm going to start off with, obviously you've just mentioned about the MBRA. There's a lot of problems in our industry right now. I don't think anyone's going to deny that, of course. And I know it's been a hot day today. The heat in our industry is turning up because there's problems galore. There's problems everywhere with everything else rising, and nothing else seems to be rising in our industry. That's making it really hard. What I want to ask you first before we start is the MBRA actually doing anything about the problems in the industry? Is that what it's there for? Let me know.
Oh no, 100% definitely. Over the years, and I'm no different. I've been an MBRA member since the changeover when the VBRA became incorporated into it. The name got changed. Prior to that, I've been part of NAB, which is the organisation before. I've been members of the MBRA, member of the VBRA, and one of the criticisms that I always had within the industry was I've got trade associations and I didn't feel that we was properly represented. Now you could argue the fact that if I go back 20 years ago when I had the three main associations, the message would always be sort of like hard to convey. When you've got three associations, it's sort of like, which one is it the right one to be a member of? Now, here and now today, we've got one association for car body repairers. It's the MBRA. Right. Now, I decided, some time ago that, well, if I want the MBRA, if I want my trade association to have more of a voice in the industry, it's only as good as what the members are and the members on the board, and the information that they can feed into that and the knowledge that they've built up over them years. So now I've decided to sort of like share some of my knowledge along with some of the other fantastic board members that we've got there, and the time is really just to look at all of the challenges that we've got. Yes, there's a lot of problems, but there's also a hell of a lot of opportunities, and we're now there looking at all of the problems, looking for those opportunities, and we're trying to convey the systems and the packages that we need to create as the MBRA to support our members for a lot of the changes which are going on, moving forward.
Brilliant. So, I know I spoke to Chris recently at a couple of shows, constantly on the move, but I'm just going to say another couple of hellos here because quite a few people are actually jumping in now. The first one was it's Lee Caswell. How you doing? Then we got Paul Price. I hope all the spray booths weren't too hot today. Oh, I know. Man, you don't need infrareds today, did you? It's Teddy Swann. How we doing? Ian Summers. Hi, Darren and Wayne. Hope you're well, pal. Gary Chu, nice to see you, matey. All the best. Martin Rowley, he's been on the show before. Teddy Swann, I knew you'd be on the show. Martin, who we got here? It's Christopher Weeks himself, the main man. How you doing, pal? Hope you're good, mate. We need to get you on the show. I think you need to explain a little bit more about the MBRA to us and what you're doing, of course. Now, I've seen Chris about, like I said, I think I'm going to hit with this I've been to a couple of shows and stuff already, and I've been there's lots of, even the insurers are sort of talking about doing things. I'm going to be blatantly honest, all I see at the moment is people talking about training kids. Every show I've been to, the insurers are talking, yeah, we're putting money in, investing money into training kids. I keep thinking that's not enough. Now, my own opinion just goes straight to the basic point of, if there's not enough money in the industry, when them kids are finished training, they're just going to go. They're going to go to somewhere else. So I think we're wasting our money, is my own opinion, because if they're going to earn more money driving vans and doing other stuff, they're just going to disappear. So it's not enough. My own opinion, that's all I hear insurers talking about doing. Nothing else. I haven't heard anything else mentioned, thought of. So what are we going to do? Because it's, for me, since January, everything's going up and up and up. Everyone's talking, and all you hear is a massive vibe that's going around with people saying things have got to change. Something's got to happen. But nothing is changing. How do we bring change? What kind of changes do we need? You know, the idea that I've stepped forward with Crash Clinic just to say the biggest thing for me is us guys now, I think more than ever, need to communicate. And that's right across the UK to try and help each other. We've never really been that interlinked an industry, but I think now more than ever, we need to be. And I don't know if it's me, but since COVID, we've come back, and it just seems that there seems to be even more management companies out there with all the work. So I don't know whether insurers are bypassing the garages direct and going straight to these management companies, which is meaning a lot of body shops are having to take work from these companies, and these are companies that are creaming off the top, which we all know. And it's a lot of cream, if I'm going to be quite frank about it all. It's not like they're just taking a little bit of money. It's a lot of cream. So there's a lot of great repairers out there that are struggling purely because of this. So it's like you and I, a lot of people are very negative, sort of saying, oh, what's going to happen? It is quite a frustrating thing to say, how are we going to change this industry? What can we do? How can we make anything any better? And I'm looking at the MBRA thinking, maybe you're the guys that should be able to bring insurers into a room where people can talk, because the way things are going, in my own opinion, with everything going up, the way it's going up, and it has been since January, it hasn't finished going up. Gas is still going up. Electric's still going up. We can't tell how much money we're making properly at the moment with everything still going up. So inevitably, it made me look at a contract recently and say, I can't do that anymore, because everything's gone up so much in the last 6 months. That contract from sort of 6 months ago is no longer viable for me. Now, I know, Terry Monaghan, how you doing, buddy? Terry's on. Terry was actually one of the first people that came on and had actually dropped his long-standing, he said, relationship, and it absolutely made me, not long after, start that. I think that's what gave me the catalyst. So thanks for that, Sarah, to say I need to look at my own contracts here. It's all right me sitting here telling everyone else to, but I'm going to look at my own. And the first one I looked at, I just thought, no, I can't, because the concern for me is in 6 months' time, that's when we sort of go, oh shit, we've been losing a lot of money for a long time. So I really think we need to sit and try and help each other. Terry, evening both. The organisations have been going forever. It's just cost. Our industry has always been on the floor. So is there any value in them? I ask respectfully. Okay, Terry, that's a decent enough question. Wayne, obviously you've just joined it, so you obviously think so. Perfect one for you to fire away.
Well, yeah, I mean, I will echo some of the sentiments there that Mike says. But effectively, if you want to change something, if you want to have an influence over something, are you just going to be a single bystander and just complain and moan to others about the problems, or are you actually going to get your hands dirty and start getting in there and getting involved? And that's the decision that I've made. The associations is no different to the repair industry. It's no different to any other industry. Yeah, change is going on all around you constantly. Yeah, you have to adapt. You have to find new ways of working. Have to find new ways of communicating. Yeah, and moving forward, the whole idea with the involvement with the MBRA is to get that engagement going. Have more engagement with our members. Start adding the value added services as well. Really, create some real value to our members. have better dialogue with the work providers, better dialogue with insurers, have better, dialogue with any facet of which affects our industry. That's what the NBRA is now focused on moving forward. The change that we're having, it is unprecedented change. Everything is altering exponentially. We need to make sure that our trade association is dynamic and use some of that dynamism, the dynamics to help our members to adapt and change to the environment around them.
Well, I do agree totally that you have to do something. Sitting around doing nothing is going to get us nowhere. I think by the sound of Terry, he's probably because he's saying they've been around for a long time and not really done anything. I think what I would like to see is these trades talking to insurers, because I really believe we've got a misconnection with insurers, is my own opinion. As an industry, I know there's individual repairers who've got a bit of a connection with insurers, but I think as an industry, we haven't got that connection where we can probably talk and find out. I mean, I'd love to.
I'll just say that, and the NBRA is there to provide that connection. We're there to provide that bridge. We understand. We represent our members, and it's all part of a card within a bigger card within a bigger card, and we've just got to make absolutely certain that those bridge connections. We know it's not viable for every independent repairer, regional group, or even a wider group. It's not possible for them to communicate with every work provider and every insurer out there. You know what I mean? And sometimes, if the truth be known, sometimes if you're working that close with a particular provider, who supplies you a huge percentage of your work, you may not want to go to them direct and address issues. And that's what the BBRA is there as well, to act as that bridge, to be able to communicate some of the issues you may be having.
Fantastic. Let's fingers crossed and hope we can make some big. I mean, Chris, yourself, you guys have got your work cut out, because I think the whole industry, like I keep saying, knows that things have got to start happening now. Everybody's panicking now, aren't they, for the future? We have got a very bleak looking future at the moment. The outlook to it is pretty harsh. Philip, hi guys, good on you for doing this. Thanks, Phil. I'll just introduce a few people there, Wayne, whilst we're talking. Great topic. Christopher Weeks is back. Oh, good. Happy to. This is a brilliant medium. Fantastic, Chris. I will be in touch then, and we will do that. That would be great. Ian Summers, we need to retain techs we already have and try and get back some of that have already left the industry. I agree entirely there, Ian. But again, something's got to happen. Derek Martin from Ireland, thanks very much for joining in. Great to have you on. John Lopez, how do you make the industry attractive to the youngsters? These are all massive tasks that we've got, that we're going to face going forward. And again, I think we need to be working together. Evening, Derek. He's saying hello. Martin, saying hello to everyone. Evening, guys. Evening, Stuart. Thanks for coming in. I mean, I'd like to see insurers on the show. I'd like to see, it's all about communication. Mike Collier, thanks for popping in with that. Definitely. And I think now I actually believe that insurers know there is some big problems coming. And I believe, like Jason said here, insurance companies aren't interested. I actually think now that they're going to have to. I think they are interested. I think they know. I've spoken to a few people at a couple of shows where people have kind of said, they know there's problems in the industry. But this is where what I've done, I think that last show I went to, where I bumped into a couple of insurers, I went and had a chat with them. And this was in December last year. And they said they know there's problems in the industry. So I look at it then and move on. We're sort of a few months later. And yes, we know there's problems in the industry. But at the minute, they're just still problems because nothing is being done. And it's my own opinion at the moment is this cannot, and I'm pretty sure everyone out there is going to be saying the same thing, cannot just keep going on like this, waiting, hoping something's going to happen, because we need to try and make something happen. We need to, because it's getting, in my opinion, it's getting worse. I think the contracts are getting worse, which, I mean, I hope we've got people joining in now. I hope it's just not my opinion. I don't want it to be just my opinion. Obviously, I've got my opinion, but I think things are very tight. How do we make it better? I think sharing information with, I mean, do we always have to jump back at trying to make things more efficient? doing things faster, doing things, because there's problems everywhere. There's problems. Insurers are now saying that the claims prices and everything have gone up through the roof. So insurers are now actually saying that
I think
they're already spending too much money.
If I can just jump in there, I think see, these are some questions that I would actually ask of anybody watching and Repair Members. Is when you're formulating the strategy for your accident repair business, are you looking at your short-term business plan, your medium-term business plan, and your long-term business plan? Because effectively we have to look at some things that do go on in the market, and we have to make a measured view as to whether or not we think this is just an upset, a blip, what's going to happen with technology and trends moving forward. You could argue today, we know that there's some capacity issues within the industry. And it's been said by some people within the industry that capacity issue is a bit of a false capacity issue, because all it's with the insurance companies and the management companies just trying to funnel all of that work through their approved repair networks, and it's actually the approved repair networks that are the ones which are the most busiest, and the ones with the longest lead times and booking in times, and yet there is actually some spare capacity out there, within the marketplace. But the reality of it is we have to look a hell of a lot deeper within our industry. Our industry is so complex. I would argue that 25, 30 years ago, it was a hell of a lot simpler. If I looked at comp and third-party cover, for argument's sake, was very, very prevalent. 25 years ago. Now you never hear of anybody only having third-party cover. And if you look all the way back to then, that is actually what helped spawn the whole credit repair and the whole credit hire industry.
Credit hire came from third party.
Exactly, it came from the fact that most insurance companies they looked after their comp customer, and if their comp customer hit somebody else, it was like, you go away and you go and sort it out yourself and do whatever action you want against us or whatever. And it was found to be extremely dysfunctional for people that had been hit. As a result of that, some legislation, some rules got changed, and that gave birth to the whole non-fault sector. Even if we go back to them, there was you and I had this discussion. I made a conscious decision way back then, even though I was attracted by companies. I'll mention this company because they don't exist anymore. I was attracted by a company called Three Arrows, who would come in and put hire cars on my premises and turn around and say, you get all your non-faults and forward. And and by the way, this is the labour rate, this is this is that.
Where have them great days gone?
I look back on them days, and I made a conscious decision as an accident repairer, that no, I was going down the fault comp route. I was going to set.
Well, you and I took too. I find it really interesting about me and you, and that's why it's great to have you on this show. You took a decision to go solely insurance, and I took a decision to go solely non-fault. So we're two ends of the scale, which I think is fabulous because we're both still here. And but again,
the only challenge,
the biggest problem.
But on that challenge now, so we find ourselves today meeting in a position, whereas we both operate repair centres. However, internally over the years, all of the things that I've done internally within my operation may well differ quite a lot to all the things that you've done in your operation. And we could argue now that the non-fault market is nowhere near as prevalent as it was previously. We know that lots and lots of court cases have occurred over the years. It's hardened off the process. A lot more of the insurers become proactive in third-party capture. A lot more of the insurance have come to the party, and they are managing all of the third-party claims themselves as well. So now we find ourselves, whereas the two markets are not as distinct anymore, and in fact, most of the non-fault work is now being channeled through the insurance companies, and through that fault network, if you like. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got quite a few repairers out there over the years have had to get more involved with working direct with insurance companies. And I think for a lot, it's been quite a bit of a culture shock. You know what I mean? In terms of, well, I was getting this before, and I could do that before, and I could do this before, and now I can no longer have those items. Yeah. And I think that, you know, things like that is what's creating some of the friction within the industry. Yeah. You know, and I'm not saying anyone's right or wrong. I'm just saying, like, you know, I'm very conditioned to working with insurance companies, and my organization and all of the processes inside of my organization is very conditioned to working with insurance companies. And it's always been to, you know, to one end and one end only, and that's to service the consumer, service the customer. I'm not, you know, I'm not a charity. I'm not, you know, I'm not a charity. I'm in business to make money. Yeah. You know, and I want to make sure I'm earning the right margin. You know, and I will choose who I work with. I know that, you know, there's varied contracts out there, and we're seeing, I've seen it so much in the last 5 years. There's so much differentiation now between the insurance companies. You know, we as repairers, we talk about the insurance companies as if the insurer is the enemy. That's the opposite side. But the reality of it is, I see good insurers, I see poor insurers, you know, in terms of the processes and how they want to operate. I see people, well, I myself work with a few insurers, whereas over the years, we have worked on the friction that was there previously, and we have knocked down these friction barriers. Yeah. You know, we have a hell of a lot more trust with each other. Yeah. And we're left to operate and repair their cars. Yeah. That in turn results, you know, in better returns on our net profit, because there's a load of frictional costs, a lot of admin costs and everything else that we've driven out of the business through collectively working together. So it is possible to do insurance contracts for a body shop and earn money.
We've had a problem, in my opinion, for years. It's something I've always said. There's never been trust in this industry. Now, I keep harking on about this because obviously I've been here for 33 years, and I started off as a Fred in the shed. Like you I don't know if you did yourself, but there wasn't great machinery.
All my work in the beginning was trade stuff. You know,
we had dozers,
we had for 350 quid. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So we have moved on immensely, and I get it when in the old days when there wasn't, let's face it, there wasn't really many technical repair centres. But I think and because of this, we were always driven down because, you know, our equipment wasn't, we were working in a little shed and things weren't expensive. But now we're a totally different industry, totally different beast. And I just don't think, my own opinion is, the insurers, for whatever reason, haven't moved on with us. They haven't come to see where we've come from. They're still an insurer. They still take policies for money. But we are actually a different beast, totally different beast, in my opinion. So I think that is a massive part of this trade, because insurers they're just used to doing what they've always done. And because we were Freds in the sheds and they could get us to do it cheaply. But what's happened is as we've moved on and on and on, they're still trying to get us to do it cheaply, but we can't, because it's not a cheap, you know, it's not a cheap trade anymore. And obviously now cars are getting more technical. We're at this loggerhead. I think we're going to see the industry change more in the next 10 years than we've ever seen it, and at a rapid rate. I think the next 5 years is going to be immense. And I don't think many people disagree with that. But it's the reason, like the MBRA, I'm glad you've joined it. I'm hoping that can move on and do some great stuff, because talk to me in this industry is cheap. There's a lot of talk, but never enough action. Now, I really believe at the moment, and again, hopefully a lot of people watching this, I think we're at our biggest financial problem right now, because the way things are going through the roof, and I keep laughing and going back about the skip situation, where I tried to get a skip and it's doubled. It was 150 quid and he wanted 300 quid. I've used the guy for 10 years. Now he said it's 300 quid. I said, well, stuff you. I've used you for 10 years. I'll go to the next one. He said 300 quid. The next one said 300 quid. And the next one said 300 quid. I had to go back and I went, all right, I'll pay you the 300 quid because I've used you before. But they stick together. I didn't go back angrily, because I was actually like, you know, I get it. your costs have gone through the roof as well. You know, driving around, picking these things up, everything's gone through the roof. But everybody else on the planet, for me, seems to be putting their prices up and have done so already, apart from the ABP. Well done, ABP. I think that was a great move from you. But everything else is going through the roof, and we're still at these prices at the moment. So
I think Darren,
what do we change imminently to help survive?
I think, but I think the challenges that we're facing is across all industries. Like you say, with your stick guy, every industry at the moment, every person on the street is going to be feeling the pinch in their pockets. It's an extremely competitive time, but competitiveness does breed innovation as well,
Oh yeah.
and we can always focus on what happened yesterday and the day before and the day before, and how that is, look at it in a very negative way. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. Or we can add up all those nuances and all those individual changes and start thinking to ourselves, actually, everybody else is worried about this and worried about that. I'm going to focus on what I can alter and what I can change, and use some of these pressures. Use some of human behaviour is a extremely important one, and we haven't seen such a shift in human behaviour before as what we have done over the last few years because of COVID. COVID has definitely done a paradigm shift with how humans interact, how they see the work-life balance, working from home, how they interact with each other, all these things added up. To me, they present us with opportunities. It is difficult out there, and I will not, deny the fact that some of the rates that some of the people pay, you would struggle to operate if you are not on the top of your game. I speak to body shops on a daily basis, and I hear the stories of I can't do this and I can't make this pay. And one of the first things I ask them, is about the numbers of their business. So what did you do last week? What did you do last month? No, Wayne, this is my results for last year, or my results are I got told last week for 3 months ago. I said, well, you're not running your accounts in real time. You're not running management accounts. See, you can't run an accident repair business, correctly with the challenges that we're faced unless you definitely know your numbers. If you remember pre-COVID, not pre-COVID, but when COVID hit, we generated a COVID calculator, and we was able to put this spreadsheet together and plug in the numbers of our business, plug in what we needed if people were on furlough, what happens if we did a staged return, what was the numbers that we need to do. And once we finished this piece of work, we did it internally for our own business, so we could effectively plan our own business through COVID. And Louise, my daughter, she worked with me on it, and we looked at each other and said, you know what, we've got to put this out to the industry, we've got to share this, because we felt that we had generated something that others could see a benefit in as well, and we didn't see it as being detrimental. In fact, if anything, I in my business I love competition. Competition drives me. It drives me to be better. I will not doubt there's contracts that I've had come through and I've done. I can't make that work. I remember in my early years, I'd only been trading about 4 years, and I had what I considered at the time. I thought, actually, this is an half decent contract. This is, and I flipped through and I did all the detailed stuff, and then I came to the payment term side of it. And back then, a lot of people were paying in 60 days. Well, the moment I see the 60-day number, I actually have to budget my business from a cash flow perspective to run more like 75 and 90 days. So when I looked at this contract and I had spare capacity, it would have been, a good revenue generator for me at the time, but I couldn't actually finance those 60 days or them 75 days or them 90 days. I could have quite easily have gone to the bank yeah, and got an
Borrow
overdraft.
more money.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Or I could have done with invoice discounting. Yeah, but
Lose
to
more
me,
money.
more money. It just made no sense. You know what I mean? So I took back then that brave decision that no, unfortunately, at this moment in time, I can't service that contract. Yeah,
Yep.
and sometimes I don't think repairers look in that level of detail of their business and understand their business.
Well,
You
this
know,
is something I think is happening right now because we
and I
can't
think this is where
increase it.
yeah, and this is where the MBRA is there to help them. You know what I mean? So using some of that skill and some of that expertise that we've built up over the years as individual members and feeding that in to the executive board, you know, we're formulating the plans on how we are now going to communicate those solutions to our members, yeah, to help, you know, to help them move forward through these difficult times, and more importantly, to innovate. There's some difficult challenges ahead of us. You know, some of the capacity issue that's available at the moment is simply because, well, there's two factors that I believe which are occurring in the market at the moment. Yeah, factor number one is used car values. Yeah, because new cars aren't available, used car values, yeah, have increased. That in turn means there will be more repairable vehicles. Yeah, so when you measure the amount of claims pre-COVID versus the amount of total losses, yeah, that margin has now become smaller. You know, the amount of claims. In fact, you know, claims up until when I researched two weeks ago, claims nationally are actually lower than what they were pre-COVID.
They say everyone is so busy. So to me, again, I know there's capacity out there. I know there's capacity out there to get things done. Are insurers putting everything to where they can get it repaired the cheapest and flooding those repairers? Are more repairers saying, no, I'm not taking that contract? And is it certain repairers that are being made so busy?
Well, the argument I would go with that, Darren, is, you know, when an insurance company is underwriting a policy, yeah, you know, there is an amount of expected, yeah, there's an amount of that they can control, and there's an amount of what they can't control, yeah, but that all formulates part of the risk plan that they've got to put together and then set that premium. By having an approved repair network and by having that detailed data, yeah, of what it's going to cost them to repair a vehicle, yeah, the expected cost to repair a vehicle helps them to be more competitive in pricing that premium in the first place. Yeah, so we're at a stage at the moment, yeah, whereas there's a lot of people out there, they paid their insurance, they paid their premiums, and the insurance companies have still got to try and ensure that they're funneling as much of that work through their approved repair network. And I will turn around and say this, I see data, you know, on a weekly and a monthly basis when I sit down and do some of my reviews with some of my partners, yeah, and some of the customer satisfaction reports and stuff that we get, you know, and they are not, you know, there is no fudging. They are totally transparent reporting mechanisms of what consumers are saying about the repair service from an insurer or from an accident management company, you know, to what the repairer themselves have operated. And you know, there's this thing that, you know, within the industry, that the approved repair network, it does not look after the consumer's interests. You know, I beg to differ. You know, I see the data. Yeah, in actual fact, some of the insurance companies do offer their consumers, you know, an excellent service, and a lot of customers are happy for their insurance companies to take control of those repairs. They just don't want the aggravation anyway. You know, people just don't want. We live in a world now, whereas, you know, I've paid my premium, I've paid it for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. I've had an accident. As far as the consumer's concerned, I've paid out £6,000 over the last 6 years. I want £6,000 worth of value now. Yeah, and they pass that on to the insurer and just say, deliver me the value, you know, and it's all about retention now. Yeah, one of the key drivers for insurers is it costs them a hell of a lot more to attract new customers than what it does to retain old customers. Yeah, so if we can get those customers, you know, cars repaired, especially if they're close to total loss and borderline. And I'm not saying this is all insurance companies, by the way. Yeah, but you know, every insurance company have their own particular niche and market that they're carving into, but they are partnering up with repairers to service their particular requirements.
Should a repairer have to be partnered to an insurer to repair a car?
Definitely not.
Well, great. I'm glad you said that because I don't.
No,
that's a big problem at the moment in the industry where insurers are saying if a customer wants to choose a repairer, should they be able to? Shouldn't they be able to? They say they want to control costs, but at the same time, especially now, there's a lot of approved repairers are jammed. I don't think that this is where I think there is a big problem. If you're not an approved repairer, this is where you're deemed to be anti-insurance because you're saying, I'm not doing it for their right because you don't send me 20 jobs a week, or whatever it is. So this is my right. That's when a lot of independents, which are probably listening now, have that problem where we're going to double your excess. We're going to take the job. They're now messing the customer about, but they're also, this is the area for me that I think is really iffy because you've got, when we say a lot of people are anti-insurance companies, it's just because they haven't got they're not an approved repairer to them and they don't want to be, they're in a totally independent repair centre. That's when the insurers act against the independent to say, I'm now going to treat you different because you're not one of my approved repairers. So then that battle kind of starts back and forth. I think there needs to be a good link there. I think we've got that much work out there. And I think personally it's going to carry on.
If I could just go on that point, and I think you mentioned it earlier on when when we started, the trust element,
Trust,
and unfortunately, if we go back, and I remember these days, if we go back pre-approved repairer, you can understand to a point why the trust element got fractured back then. And I think anybody who's seen how the business operated 25, 30, 35 years ago we would all nod our heads in agreement. Okay, so but trust, trust is something now that has to be earned. You have to work together with your partner. You have to communicate all of the differences between what they want out of the business, what you want out of your business, and then you have to develop and build that trust. So when an independent repairer hasn't got that relationship with the insurance company, I would say that's half natural that the insurer is not going to just automatically convey them trust.
What is the BSI?
The BSI is just a method to try and say you've got the standard of how you should be repairing a car.
But it's making sure you as a repairer, if you've got that stamp, to me, it's saying if you're going to go to a repairer and they've got BSI standard, that should already tell you that's a great repairer. He's been not being forced, so I shouldn't say that because we all do the job properly. But the BSI stamp, he's supposed to be saying, we're making sure with 2 inspections a year that we pay for, that guy is inspected at the drop of a hat. He's doing things right. Shouldn't that give us a massive section of trust and be worth something?
Definitely. Now, that's the whole reason why the standard was created.
Is it actually worth anything at the moment? I don't know.
Again, if we go back 20 years ago, 25 years ago, the MBRA, was one of the first associations to start setting up a standards system. So when you became an MVRA, which is Mike Mahongan's business, when you became an MVRA member, there was standards and systems, and then they ran the QA program, which you made sure that you met this criteria, to prove those standards. Now, they started off as a trade association, but that quickly turned into a work provider because most of the insurance companies could then see that, hang on a minute, there is now some standards being operated to. We fast forward to today, yes, we've got the BSI standards. And for me, I genuinely believe it was a fantastic thing. And I want it to continue within our industry because it's raised the standard, it's raised the bar of all of us.
For me, it's not just raised the standard. I actually believe, go back to Fred in the shed days, you had to employ some very, very skillful lads to get good repairs, didn't you? Because they're using dozers and little things that aren't machines. Now we've got this is what, again, we're back to. We've got such great machinery and tools, and I think the average repair across the board is a lot better.
Definitely.
I think the BSI has made a massive stamp on that as well.
Yeah,
but definitely. I don't think the industry's any better.
But I think
here's what I want to ask you.
Yeah.
They're saying insurance has gone through the roof at the moment. It's going up and up and up. Now, this fascinates me, this one. and then we'll go through some of these comments because a lot of people dropping comments and haven't had time to even look at, so we'll catch up today. So back in the last sort of just before COVID and over COVID and just before that, the non-fault accident, probably for me, for you, for everyone in the insurance industry, the biggest problem ever to hit the grace of insurance was personal injury. The biggest problems through the roof. The insurers were out to nail that. It was costing them millions. Now, they managed to very cleverly change a few laws and what have you, and destroy the personal injury claims, in my opinion, which is a great thing, don't get me wrong. But in the middle of that argument and that battle, and this was in the courts, they say this is a great thing for the industry because it's going to save insurance companies, and I'm touching on billions here, saving them millions that they're going to pass on to their consumer. Great thing that the personal injury thing's gone. We all pay insurances. Do you think, or have we seen any insurance reductions that have been passed on? I know they've saved millions on the personal injury in the last few years. They've even admitted it's dropped so massively, and Keogh's sit on the internet saying, oh, we're a big part of this, and we've halved or more than halved the cost of PIs. Brilliant. So where's that saving gone? Chuck a little bit of it at repairers. Chuck a little bit. There's a lot of money being saved by insurers. But again, insurance is actually going, now they've sort of finished with that, insurance is actually apparently going up because the claims costs are going up, but they've had a massive saving.
Yeah, I mean, look, I research and I do a lot of stuff. The data that I've seen recently is suggesting that insurance is actually holding and even been dropping. Yeah, so some of the premiums have been dropping over the last 6 months in particular.
I have never known anyone see a policy drop yet.
Well, yeah, whether or not we speak to
mine has never come down.
I think today we're in so many, I say dynamic times, you know what I mean? The things have got to change, the things that have got to alter. Most of the insurers that I speak to, they do actively want to see more money going into the repairers' pockets. And there is a recognition, and there is, people are now starting to acknowledge, the specialism that is required to repair accident damaged cars. And that's insurers and accident management companies alike. Are we there yet? No, nowhere near. You know what I mean? Is more talk and more communication required so we can realise that value into the repairers? Yeah, most definitely. But what you find is we're running at two ends of the scale at the moment, between what the approved repair network looks like and the cost model of that, versus if you're not, you're non-approved and you're going after work at full, dare I say, retail rates, and you're adding these things into the estimate. And I'll speak to some repairers and say, well, why have you put it at that rate? So why have you put these items in? Or why have you put those items in? And a lot of the, they always knock me back. They're happy to meet, but if you don't start high, you're not going to get to the middle ground, And I do think some insurance companies, could be better placed to start looking at this, and and turn and say, I'm an advocate of what I call a tier A and a tier B network, I mean. And I think a lot more independents, should operate on what I would call a tier B network for insurance companies, where you are paid a slightly higher rate. That there are checks and balances put in between it, but it is also there to design to reduce that friction and still deliver on that customer's expectation.
How the text is supposed to take a lot of that friction out. It's supposed to tell you half of the, they put this system in, they want to rely on it. It should tell you a lot of that. The thing you've just said something there, which I absolutely hate about this industry, and that's across it for non-fault, fault, claims, everything. Aim high and try and get a bit. We must be the only industry in the world that put an invoice in expecting less. I've just done the job. There's the invoice. Pay it. But no, not in this industry. Take that off. Get rid of this. I don't want to pay that. Imagine going for a curry and doing that. It just doesn't work, does it? It's the only industry ever to have something like that. And again, I just think everybody knows something's got to change. And I think I'm screaming and shouting because I think it's really, really rife now somehow. I'm going to go through some of these. The way to attract people in our industry is to show everyone the great working conditions rather than the perception of an unclean working environment, showing the investment in training and how the technology is advancing in cars, how we can build a successful career in the industry. We are building some great relationships, especially with local colleges. Fantastic, Andrew. Yes, obviously, again, we're talking about equipment. We're talking about it's all cost. I'm with you on that 100%. And I think the industry is getting tidier and better, but it's cost. Gary says try and take control of your own destiny as much as possible. Go out and get retail business that you receive 100% of the invoice. Build your brand, become your customers' go-to local independent specialist. Another great way, again, but when you go to the insurer, you're going to have a fight. Josh Anderson, in our area, people are trying to ship customers 30 miles down the road. The same company refused a £3 an hour pay rise to retain the work. They just accepted a non-approved estimate at £45 an hour because the customer came direct after we terminated the relationship. So terminating relationships, sounding good. Chris, how are we doing? It's Mr. Autoflow. Or was, I should say. How are we doing? Great to see this being discussed like this. Brilliant. Nice to have you on, Chris. Tracy's back. Doing a great job, Darren. Keep up the great work. Thank you very much. We're trying. Chris Weeks, when we started, we had 0 dialogue and 0 relationships. We now have masses of dialogue. We have 186 insurers, asset management contacts that we communicate and update quarterly at the worst. We need win-wins, and we are just starting to find them. Fantastic, because like I said, it is now. We as an industry have some leverage right now, finally. Christopher, that is probably the best thing I've heard since January this year. So again, we will catch up at a later date anyway. I don't get that insurers are so against paying decent rates for approved repairers, but that same insurer will pay £75 an hour with a non-approved repairer. Again, we know these rates are all over the place at the moment because everybody's fighting. The questions were asked in the last 10 years or more, yet nothing has or will change. Can't staff their own sites, yet alone without offering huge sums of money to individuals. Okay, yeah, that's staffing is a problem. Colin Keeler, nice to hear you, buddy. Insurance companies are pushing groups to get bigger. Right, then here's one Wayne. And I think they're trying to push out smaller independents. Less hassle for them to deal with. Just yes men to do, and they're happy. What do we think on that?
I'll spin that on its head. Right. Let me spin that one on its head a little bit, right? And this is where obviously some of the controversial, subject matter
pushing the smaller man out.
Yeah. What if I says independent repairers are pushing the groups to get larger? You
could put it that way, but I think independents are fighting harder. Independents should join. The big groups should join the independents on getting it better.
Well, and this is, so, and what I mean by that statement, is nothing is ever as black and white as what everything seems. But by helping the independents, and by making sure that me personally, I think independents have things to offer that the groups can't offer. You know what I mean? Yep. And I personally believe there's quite a few insurers out there that would definitely want to tap into the independent market and get some of them wins, especially from a customer service perspective. There's nothing better than that family-owned accident repair business and how they would care for the customers. Awesome. And when you start heading into some of the corporate world and what some of the stuff that you have to do, it's very difficult to offer that level of service. I'm not saying they don't do it. Of course they do it. But, we as individuals, as independent accident repair centres, we have to look at what is it that we can offer. What is that differentiation? Because insurers themselves are also looking for that differentiation. They've got to compete with each other on policies in the first place. You've got to imagine, two friends, having an incident, both with different insurers, meeting up one day in the pub and saying, I had a smash in my car. Oh, I had a smash in my car. What happened? Oh, I had this service. I had this problem. I had this. Oh, I'm insured with this party. And they dealt with everything for me, and they delivered this, this, and this. And it could be the experience of two totally different insurers running two totally different methods of their independent repair.
I believe insurers need independence. I believe independents give a better service locally. No disrespect to any big, because big guys obviously are out there for volumes, but I think the independents are more personal. My own opinion again. We're all entitled to those opinions, and I think the bigger groups taking over. They've tried before. They've disappeared before. Are we back to? Are they trying it? I don't know. The thing is, as more and more body shops disappear, and I think that's possibly going to happen in the next 12 months. Unfortunately, could be any of us. Touch wood, it's not. But that might be something that's going to start making people worry. But then somebody did say, are the big guys just going to go and buy up more body shops and take it over? I don't know. It's really, really tough, isn't it? Let's jump into some more questions from Terry. Terry, Gary here has the right idea. No one will change anything. You have to do it yourself. And now is the best chance in decades. You don't have to charge silly rates. Just try and offer a different solution, looking after your customers' interests, the insurers and their customers, obviously. That's another one of going out, getting better working. Ivan, I would say there is a lot of capacity out there, but to get to the work, it's almost impossible. All the rates they ask you to do it. That's the bigger problem, is not enough to cover the basics. There is work out there to grow and grab. I've had a couple of contracts this week come through, and I've just said no chance. Christopher, again, we absolutely need to be tight as a drum as an industry. Definitely. We have brought insurers into a room several times and tried to get them to change together. It doesn't work. Wow. And that's coming from Christopher Weeks. So, but we can influence the change mindset. Thank you. That's exactly what Crash Clinic is all about. I've sat here and said, if we don't come together, the industry will change around us without our input. We need to at least have some input in how it's changing. Can't wait to get you on the show there, Chris. Terry Monahan, spot on. Fight your own corner, make it fair. Gary, yes, again, Gary started that one. Everyone wants to be paid for what they do and at a proper rate. What's wrong with that? Nothing's wrong with that. But what is a proper rate? This is how it should be. Repairers send estimates to insurance companies. They don't rip the estimate to pieces. They discuss the estimate, but there's no face-to-face anymore. That's actually quite a good, I'm sure you like me, Wayne. We used to speak to a lot of engineers, and they were a bit friendlier before because you could speak to them. Ian Summers, I always find it strange that insurance companies hand over their policy holders to an accident management company on non-fault cases. Ian, thank you. It's absolutely mental, to be honest, that happens. Why do they do it? Why do they need to do it? They don't. Colin Keeler, there's still loads of opportunity for independents. They have never been more important to the industry. See, Chris, that's what we were just talking about, Wayne. I think independents are very important to the industry. Kevin, how you doing? There is no trust. We have to spend loads of time sending images of everything we do to the vehicle. If we miss an image, they don't pay. That I don't get, Kevin. Absolutely boils the life out of me. We're part of the BSI. The BSI do independent inspections. What's the point? If we're having to send images anyway, and you forget an image because you're busy or there's somebody off sick, and you don't send that image and you don't get paid, why is it? I just think it's pointless being part of the BSI. There is, catch factors in here to make us as good as we are. Christopher, again, some insurers might have, many haven't. They are all slow to move. You're right, Darren. Many have only had one objective, to save money. Now they have a new challenge, capacity, for many reasons. Definitely, this is what we're saying. We think it's going to be a capacity problem that's probably going to alter this industry. That's what I'm hoping anyway, and something's got to make them stand up. John Lopez, I agree. The industry and technology has moved on massively, but the insurers are battling to keep their policy costs low for the customers. We need to work out how the two things can go hand in hand. John, definitely. Again, I would rather speak with these insurers and as an industry rather than them just sorting out their policies and trying to keep us cheaper. Something has to happen. Christopher Weeks, I agree. They're very important to the industry, but I do not get treated equally in my opinion. Colin, I do believe that's because once you're not an approved repairer, that's when they treat us differently. Again, that's my opinion.
If I can just jump in there, Darren.
Yeah, of course.
Because obviously I was scrolling through some of them comments and this, that, and the other. I think, some people are making some extremely interesting points there. Yeah. And I think they need addressing. Absolutely 100% correct. The independent repairer, as far as I'm concerned, is definitely key to the industry moving forward. And especially, with some of the challenges that we face ahead. The MBRA is there to help and to assist. Yeah. And yes, we want to ensure that that dialogue with the insurers and with the accident management companies is also there to support, you know, the changes that need to happen. Yeah, everybody, you know, everybody agrees. I had a conversation once with one insurer, and he turned around and he says to me, it was as clear as this. He says, Wayne, he says, we would pay more as long as everybody else pays more.
What's his name?
Right, and that's sort of like some of the influence and the change within the market. And the problem that you've got is we have got market dynamics, you know what I mean, which are now coming into play, you know what I mean, and that will start defining some of the lines, on where everybody sits in the chain and in the equation. You know, there will be a lot of opportunities. Gary True mentioned, you know, as an independent repairer, you can make that choice, to just become 100% retail, and I still 100% agree with that. If that's the choice that you make, that's your business model, you know, and working with the MBRA, we've got to look at, okay, what are those challenges that our members are facing when they are working as an independent 100% retail, and what is the MBRA going to do to assist, you know, with a dialogue with the work providers and with the insurance companies. But and then equally, there may be an independent repairer that decides that he wants to go off and do this contract for an insurance company. 6 months into that, he may hit a little bit of a problem, or he might hit a bit of a snag. We want him to come to us and communicate that, and so we can help try and resolve that. And then equally, we can have a UK-wide group, we can have a regional group, you know what I mean, that again, as a member comes across an issue and we're able to assist them with it. We do it regularly as the MBRA. We don't shout about it. Those members know who's had assistance in the past from the MBRA. You know, that commercial issues, so we can't post them. We can't publicly, you know, say what, you know, some of the good that we've been doing. But individual members, you know, have add value, you know, when they've come to us with a problem, and we want to continue to do that. We want independent repairers to not have to have contracts if they don't want to.
Should repairers be graded by the investment in their machinery, their equipment, their you know, what they can and can't repair? Just another thing to throw in the mix.
BSI, I think BSI, like you say, is the standard in terms of, you know, if you're operating to a unified standard, whether you're a small organization or a group business, we're all on the same level playing field in terms of that standard. You know what I mean? You know, and the good thing about the BSI is it keys in all of the provenance of parts, it keys in all the manufacturer's data and following manufacturer methods. You know what I mean? So, so from a repairing of a vehicle perspective, we all are unified on that approach. So I think you're right in that the BSI, you know, British Standards BS 10125 is that unifying standard for the entire industry.
I feel it doesn't give us as much benefit as we should get for it. I love what this guy's just said here. Unfortunately, it's a great comment, but we don't know who it is, but it's a great one. Imagine signing a new insurer contract that has an ABP tracking clause. If ABP put the labour rates up, so does the insurer. I mean, similar to the Bank of England rates. That could actually be, this is what I'm trying to get at the moment, right now. Interest rates, everything's gone up. There's surely got to be a small level, even if it was across the board, everything that we do goes up 10%. So insurers have got to accept something for us guys now, because now is so important. And that's a very good thing that maybe with...
No, definitely, 100%. And these are conversations that we've had within the MBRA. You know what I mean? That it's logical. Paint companies put their paint and materials up once, twice. How many we had with one of the paint companies? I think I've had 3 or 4 increases in the last 7 or 8 months. You know what I mean? And we have to wait for Auditex to adjust that. But the paint companies put their product up every year. Parts keep going up every year. Yeah, and as the MBRA, this is something definitely that we want to see written into some of the contracts and some of the things that we're working with when we're working with the insurers and our members. You know, we think it's only fair and reasonable that there should be some form of index linking, automatic increase in contracts moving forward. Yeah, because at least then, you know what I mean, it gets everybody within the industry, insurers and accident management companies alike, we're all working to the same rule set, you know. So it is something that we will be having conversations, something we'll be working hard towards, because we do think, you know, that's just common sense and fairness. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly.
If you want that continuous investment, you know, if you want the technology solutions there for the future, it has to be invested. It can't be done without them incremental increases, without having to keep going back and renegotiate contracts. You know.
Yeah. Okay. Tracy, bring back the days where the engineer would visit the repairer and have a constructive dialogue and relationship. They were great days, Tracy, but technology has wiped them out. Ivan, we don't only struggle. Please, Mr. Wayne, do explain to our technician and new technician why we can't pay more. We've all got that going on at the moment, Ivan. It's a horrible one, but this is what we're working on. Terry, it's a difficult situation. Aggregator sites mean cheapest quote gets the business. How crazy, no loyalty. So why do these CSI scores matter? Punters will only stay if it's the cheapest. No, thank you, not for me. So really, insurers can't give much more. Margins are tiny. And of course, we're filling our boots on all that paint profit.
Nice one, I have a question, and that's an interesting point what Terry's making there with the aggregator sites. You know, we don't see so much of the aggregator sites as what it was a few years ago. There's a lot more people insuring direct, a lot more retention going on. However, I would argue that at this particular moment in time, if we added up all of the capacity and we added up all of the problems in the industry from placing work, I would put money on it's the budget insurers which are suffering the most on placing work at this moment in time.
Yeah, it probably is.
You know what I mean? So that will feed through to consumers. You know what I mean?
My argument with that point there is you don't see an insurer that doesn't post every 6 months saying how many millions, 600 million they've made in profit. So I don't think they're struggling quite as bad as we might believe. But Colin Keeler, no, you're right. Insurers are naturally anti-non-network. Hence the excesses and stuff. But times are changing because customers simply need servicing, and there's only one alternative in town with capacity: non-network. If you operate in a boom-bust environment, you have to charge what you need to thrive, and the market must accept it. Very much so. But I think if insurers' contracts were better, more people would probably sign up to them. But that's a separate debate. Why nobody can afford to put structure for new trainees and spend time going for it? That's the same thing there, Ivan. We are covering that one with it. We feel your pain. It is, in general, getting staff in. Brett Archer, Express Bodyworks, good evening. Nice to have you joining in and jumping on the show. Daniel Reed, I personally would be happier to pay more on my premium to make sure repairs were paid for fairly. Should you be fortunate enough to use them? That's it's very nice of you, but I think with comparison sites, I don't think the public probably agree with that, which is the biggest problem. Yes, we should, but insurers still make millions, so it makes it a problem. Colin Keeler, so an insurance company nails you to the floor to an average repair cost, then tells you after you've agreed and signed a contract the average repair cost is then area based and add all repair costs for the area whenever the cars we repair. How good is that? Not quite with you on there. You're saying that's good? I think you're saying that's bad, but it's that's a contract. You need to read a contract, don't you? But yeah, it's good contracts we're now looking for. Christopher, MBRA have lobbied insurers for the removal of distinctiveness. Double X, brilliant. That's fantastic, and so they should. Certainly right now, especially because it's indefensible in this current climate. They can't get cars repaired, so why are they trying to move them and take things away? That's just, you're right, it's mental. Colin Keeler, why are the M25 rates and around London repairs much better? Yeah, is it cheaper in the middle of the country? Yes, I think it's down to those London rates and just living in London, being around London, driving around London, parking in London. It does seem to be a lot more money. BSI approved, what a waste of time and money. I'm going to disagree with you there, Jason. I think it's a great thing, but I don't think it's used for a good enough reason. You just have to have it to get work. And they do 2 inspections. But like Wayne just said there, or somebody else just said, if they're having to send pictures in of everything, there's no trust. Well, the BSI for me should give them a lot of trust, saying this now they're paying so much money to be BSI approved, and we know they're being inspected by an independent company trying to catch them out for doing anything bad. It's setting a set of standards. So I think the trust, again, maybe the insurers just need telling this, why don't you trust us when you've got the BSI? It should be a better thing for us. Yes, Ivan, it is definitely for higher costs in and around London. What standards are insurers actually looking for on their network? BSI, manufacturer approved. Trading standards? Do you know any more on that, Wayne?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, most definitely. Insurance companies will have customers phone them up and make a claim, and they will turn around and say, especially if you've got the car on a PCP or any sort of lease agreement, where they say, oh, I've got to have my car repaired at a Mercedes garage, or I've got to have it repaired at a BMW garage. Yeah. So it's logical then that the more insurers could get the manufacturer approved repairer onto their approved repair system, then they can channel that BMW and get it paid at their approved rates. You know what I mean? So insurers do make an active look at what manufacturer approvals you've got, because they will have customers that will turn around and say. Equally says though, I have spoken to many insurers, and and they've turned around and says, no, I'm sorry, we haven't got a main dealer approved for your brand, local. Well, I'm going to use that garage up the road then, Now I will turn around and say, I do think that you see a slight shift and a slight change in the way an insurance company or an accident management company operates when the customer's made a desired choice that it's got to go to Mercedes approved, and that body shop is Mercedes approved, I think the negotiation methods are a little bit different, whereas if it's just an independent saying I want to repair the car and they haven't got no manufacturer approvals, then that's where a lot of friction does also come into play as well. Yes, they may well have the British Standards 10125, but effectively the insurance companies are always they're still looking at compliance themselves. They're still looking at the risk element of once they place that job, what risk are they placing themselves under? Just because somebody else is fixing that car that is non-network doesn't dissolve them of all of their obligation and liabilities in providing indemnity to that customer. So it's true that an insurance company will want to look as much of the detail and the facets as possible, because they still got to manage their risk.
Okay, Mike Collier says BSI was good for the industry, but times have moved on and they are not relevant now. See, this is what people are thinking, are feeling, because we only normally talk to a few of ourselves, and that's what I love about this show, is that people are telling us this kind of thing, because I think BSI is good or should be good for the industry to raise the standards, but I don't think it's being utilised properly. Now, Mike obviously says it was good for the industry, but times have moved on and now they're not relevant. So people have got a lot of different feelings with it.
I think, I will counter that Mike is saying. If I go back 5, 6, 7 years ago, there seemed to be a hell of a lot of disparity between British standards and your manufacturer approvals. And one thing that some of the manufacturers have now worked at is where we can get this crossover, and especially when they're running their own auditing processes for their particular standards. And what BSI has been able to do is, again, give this unified set of rules and and processes and governance that everybody applies to. But as a result of that, it has actually also made some of your manufacturer approvals easier, and so there is some of the duplication has been removed out of the industry as a result of BSI.
Yeah, it's all our opinions, isn't it? And they all matter. They all matter. Christopher Weeks, give Anthony Heard his dues on a certain point, and that is that we all know the masses of claim cost is wasted on hire that could be avoided with the better collaboration with the repair industry, something Darren did for years, but we have lost track. That's something, Christopher, I'm actually going to do a separate show on, because it's pretty in-depth. And if I'm totally honest with you, yes, it's not just the higher fees, They've lost the PI stuff. It's simply the running of claims is so poor, and that's, to me, is fault and non-fault. So we're going to run something on that coming up very soon. So thanks for mentioning that, Chris. Christmas weeks, but they are all profiting from this. They recharge each other, so it's wooden dollars. Woohoo! Ivan, totally hear you reflecting. Every repairer is immense. Rates are catching up, but the change is slow. Yes, that's and without cash, and so few have post-COVID are on the edge. If you remember, that's actually true. That is, Chris, because we're not actually. I suppose why it's so vibrant now is we've just come off the back of COVID. We've come off probably, this massive period of having an absolute nightmare. We sort of get back into the swing of things, I would say, January this year-ish, I don't know. And then we're hit with inflation that's just unheard of inflation, gone through the roof. So we've got COVID we're trying to finish with. And like you say, he did say they put a few people to the edge. And now we've got this inflation. And this is why I keep harking on that change is imminent, and insurers should be really looking, saying, I think we need to help this industry a little bit. Sorry, that was the one we just read there. Paul, the next hike in gas prices will push more. I know, absolutely terrifying, because we all use gas so much. And again, these are things that, these insurers need to know. What buying up? People that have had enough. There's people disappear, people going away, and the bigger body shops tend to jump in. You can't beat local personal service. I agree with that, Mike, and I think that will always be there. They said years ago that supermarkets would wipe out your flower shops, wipe out your butchers, wipe out your different. It hasn't, and it didn't, and that's because, again, people are getting their local personal service that they love. It might wipe out a few, but I don't think it will ever get rid of them. That's why the independents need to shout loudest to make sure customers choose local. Just like shopping at your local. Yeah, I've just said that. I'm nice. So that's quite strange. And that came straight after. Paul Weeks, I've calculated the current hike has taken 100,000 off the bottom line of the average repairer. And that must be still increasing, Chris, because things are actually still going up. So we have aggressively communicated this along with the AMCs, which has provided something of a lifeline with £50 to £100 per job in energy subsidiaries. Well done if that was you sort of initiating that, Chris. Fantastic. I know some people might say, it's only 50 quid. Everything bloody matters at the moment. It really does. Could do everything. It seems to go up except the labour rates. AMR, yeah. We know that. I remember sitting at a VBO meeting 30 plus years ago with a lovely guy called Bill Millen and Coach Gillingham. Kent stood up, tore up his contract. Wow, with GRE, and said, if we don't stand together now, insurance companies will take control right now. And he was how right he was. Everyone stabbed him in the back. Wow, but they were different times. I don't think things have ever been as painful as now. Paul Anderson, hi. I work for a small body shop that have just got their BSI. At the moment, we get £45 an hour from AXA, and are on non-fault vehicles. We receive £48 an hour. Fantastic. It's needed. And I'm pretty sure everyone's now going to phone AXA. But that's the information we should be sharing. Terry Swann, how are we doing? Colin Keeler, we were there. I remember saying to everyone, yeah, we'll stab him in the back. Definitely, we were there. Guys, we cannot kick, not the big groups. We are all providing a great service with a different business model. Yes, just what Wayne said. There's space for us all, big time. Tesco sells beans cheap, but we can all still use the local corner shop that's slightly more. Yes, exactly. I agree for that. For amazing immediate service, and when all set, we'll have to pay. Well done, Chris. I like that analogy. Dennis Hatton said the same. With a kick to the door, he would be turning in his grave. Bless Terry. So many people asking us to do work for them, stating rates are crap. Sorry, but the Zone 99 is great. That's what it's all about. It is great. But then a lot of them are now taking out the Zone 99s in them horrible contracts.
Zone 99, just on that subject,
yeah.
Zone 99 is something that, that it is one area within the accident repair business that does frustrate me. Yeah. I see a lot of different contracts, and I see verbatim copies of Zone 99 items. Yeah. And that policy of how some insurers will turn around and say, if it's not on there, you can't have it, and interpretation, of certain things, as an industry, I think I think we could come up with a more unified and clear message on what Zone 99 actually, does mean, and get some clarity from that. Auditech will just turn around and say a blanket statement. It just plainly doesn't. It includes anything. It's anything that is not included in the estimating system.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is, if you're having to make a contract work with the Zone 99 items, I would argue there's something wrong with the contract in the first place.
Yep, can't argue with that. Ian Summers, we try to make sure that no work source is more than 10 to 15% of our business. Don't blame you. Very well done with that, because I think that's very important. Kieran Perks, nice to have you on. Evening, Wayne, Darren, brilliant discussion. Both. Wayne, you're spot on as always. You have to know your numbers, having witnessed a wide range of contracts, definitely. Bad, indifferent across some of the UK's leading accident repair centres with differing results. I feel we not only have a financial constraint, but a reduced industry efficiency and productivity post-COVID, which has resulted in repairers being over capacity and ultimately not making the numbers work. Interesting. Overcapacity does. We've spoke about this before, Wayne. It does if you're cramming too much work in your repair shop, you can become very unproductive. So it's very important.
Definitely. And I'll use the word down. Kieran's right there. We work to such finite margins, and we work to these processes and procedures, and there isn't optimal. You know what I mean? And if you can't operate within those bounds of that optimal sphere, the moment an insurer fires too much work into you for whatever reason, you go outside that optimal sphere. If they're not feeding enough work into you, you go out of that optimal sphere. You know what I mean? And that's with all businesses. You know what I mean? And perhaps, it'd be great to see some work providers, some insurers, accident management companies, focus a little bit more on how the whole capacity management operates around that optimal sphere of operating an accident repair workshop, and allow items, allow repairs to go outside to independence, when they can't fit everything into the optimal sphere, and go, right, we've got our own repair network, but it doesn't fit within the optimal sphere now. We've just got too many claims. Well, let's allow cars to go through, under a different, under different rates, whether or not we get rid of the double excess or whether or not we do this to independence, you know what I mean? And let's broker, a measure of what would be an appropriate rate, what would be the appropriate discounts, you know what I mean? And let's get rid of some of this friction. So if you are, working direct with insurers and operating any form of sole supply or any form of group business, you really are partnered to have this optimal sphere. But in actual fact, for insurers, they don't mind it going outside into the overspilling into the independent repair network, because actually there's some controls and protocols. It's a little bit like back in the days when you set up the GTA, just simply because of how all of the rules and all of that was different back then. We needed some, different, was it general terms agreement? Yeah,
that's what I had to do, was put a uniform that worked for insurers. And when I sat them down and gave it them, they loved it. And it needs doing now. It needs doing in fault work. I mean, now they should have some kind of, they know work goes out to independents that they can't get in. And I don't think they should be upsetting their customers with it. And I don't think they should be spending all their time and money thinking of things like doubling excesses and all this kind of crap. They should just work with the insurer who just wants to repair a car for them. But that's another one. Lee Caswell, thanks for that. I did love your post, by the way. We'll have to get your name on there next time. Ian Summers, I heard that claims levels are still below pre-COVID. Is that true? Wayne's saying yes. I'm saying the whole world is that busy. It can't be. But there we go. Wayne says he's seen it. So we'll go with that one. Mike Monaghan, in the past, MVRA had 18 insurer contracts with a 1.5% above RPI every year. So it's something, these things we're talking about need implementing. Well done there, Mike. John Lopez, the reality is insurers know there is a problem in attracting skilled staff. Was only talking to an insurer today who admitted they had lost seven image engineers and only managed to recruit one at the moment. They too will have to pay higher wages. That's a good point to make, to be fair, because COVID has a lot to do with although we're all saying there's not enough money to entice, that there isn't, but there's also, since COVID, I can tell you now, before COVID, I could put a job up and it was filled like that. Since COVID, I've put jobs up. Even kids, we wanted to take on a couple of youngsters, not had a reply. That's because I think COVID's made people want to sit at home and enjoy the sun, especially on a day like today. Ian, we had 5 customers in 1 week where the insurance companies told the customer that their accident repair centres were VW approved and they weren't. Ouch. Ian, I'm going to tell you one thing for sure. I've dealt with a lot of claims over the years, and insurers tell some terrible porkies. We've caught them out in writing many a time, but that's another story. Christopher, really great point about BSI. Maybe more regular audits from them and a total trust from insurers. Yeah, thank you. Because what is the point? Again, we're on about insurers don't trust repair centres. They obviously don't trust the BSI. And this is a massive problem with insurers. Trust. I think the BSI are doing a fabulous job. I really do. They come into it. It doesn't matter how much you sweet talk them or how many coffees you give them. They're making you, if you've got something wrong, a point wrong, they want it right. And I think that's really good. And I think they've given themselves, in my own opinion, a very strong name because of that. But it's not, to me, it's a great thing that's not used enough. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I don't know.
I always look at it, Darren. Yeah, I always look at it. I measure everything from, and what I call it is the value proposition. Yeah, so I don't care what things cost me. I really care about what is the value that it creates. What value does it create? And you're absolutely right. The BSI, we do not extract the maximum value out of what it costs us. You know what I mean? The value proposition could be better. From the British standards, having that within your organisation. Yes,
very much. Terry Monaghan, here we go. It's all about snouts in the trough. How on earth are we, as a low-margin industry, expect to keep filling up everybody's bank accounts? Very much. I don't believe there is any need for accident management companies, or at least the insurer employs them. The insurer needs to pay for them. Terry, that's something I am going to bring up again in a sole separate thing, because I do believe accident management companies take anything from 20 to 30%. Put that back into the repair. I don't think we'll be sat here moaning. So that is another time for another big chat. BSI manufacturer approved are recognised standards that charge for the certification, but what do they actually do in assisting getting better rates? Not a lot at the moment. Let's hope things change. Insurers re-invoicing our final invoice, uplifting the price by large amounts. Solera offer outer re-rate. It's a product that uplifts from outer invoice automatically. Accident repair centres stand no chance of getting reasonable charge out profits. Wow, isn't that bordering on FCA reef? Well, if insurers know it goes on, they shouldn't allow it.
Well, I mean, that makes an interesting point as well, because the Tolls versus Atherton case and the Royal Sun Alliance one, whereas they was able to, what the courts deemed as what the man in the street would pay, and the fact that the insurer got it repaired less, had no bearing. As far as the courts was concerned, it's what is the man in the street would pay to have his car repaired. And in actual fact, that was an important point, that was made there. But as a result of that, that did mean that a lot of the insurers then adopted this policy of uplifting repair invoices when they charge in the fault party. And that in itself has driven out some of the finance within the repair community that we should have been paid in the first place to fix the cars.
Ian Summers says, Darren, I've been checking parts vans, and when they come in, I do love Ian Summers. He's very thorough. He's a great guy. And when they come on site and the drivers are saying drops are down and they're not so busy, okay, I will beg to differ. I agree with you now, Paul Ives, what's going to happen with capacity when the winter hits? Summer was always a paint the building sort of time. Exactly. Couldn't agree with you anymore. And this is what I keep saying. When we're saying work is down, we have never been this busy. And I'm turning contracts down. I'm telling people that don't want your work. And we're only in, where are we now? We're in July. We've got August, September. And I used to say October was the start of the busy period. Probably think it might dribble into, because the weather's all gone crazy, hasn't it now? But we're coming into that busy period. Wow, maybe that's when insurers will listen. If we're still here. Christopher, we'll end on this one. This seems to be the last one. Darren, you won't get anyone for £9 an hour. Stop being so tight. Yeah, that's true. Okay, I'll change my advert. Fantastic. Right. Well, it's gone on quite a while. I think we've covered some great topics, Wayne. It's been great to have you on. Great to see so many people join in. Obviously, we learn every time we talk. And I think I'd like to do more of these, maybe even if we cover some certain topics and they're not quite as long. I generally think that a half an hour to an hour show is brilliant. But everybody, in fairness, we've had a lot of people stay on quite some time. So I appreciate you giving up your time, peeps. And we'll try and cover some issues. It's great that you've joined the MBRA. I'd love to have Christopher on soon, of course. And let's keep bashing away together. Yeah. We are stronger.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me on. It has been great. I have Chris on. It'd be great to engage more. That's definitely what we want, and we want to have some, open, honest conversations. But we also need to provide some balance. We need to look at things from all perspectives. You know what I mean? Somewhere within it all, through communication, and through the changes which are occurring, and the changes aren't just unique to our industry. It's the insurers, the accident management, the whole digital journey as well, and the incorporation of the whole digital journey. That in itself is going to throw up a whole new set of equations, and especially when we move into connected car and how that's all going to operate. But we need to talk, we need to communicate, and somewhere in there, there is methodologies where the consumer wins, the repairer wins, and the insurer wins. And we've just got to keep plugging away and building up those layers to find that common ground.
I would love nothing more than, I arc on about it because it is something I'm quite proud of, to be honest. Back in 2001, when I went to the insurers and created the GTA, it was just a simple way of us all getting on. And it worked. And it's still running today, 20 years on, although it's fell apart now is the honesty. I would love to have an input in with insurers on how a claim is ran, because it's just so disjointed. There's money leaking everywhere, and it's leaking in the wrong areas. Because I'm going to leave us all with this. There's the one main important person in the whole of the process is us.
The repair.
And we're both, I'm predominantly non-fault, you're predominantly fault. Without us, they ain't getting cars repaired. So I think the industry needs some massive, massive changes. Talking hopefully brings that together. Hopefully we can get some people. I'd love to talk to some insurers. They must know there is, so many problems ahead. And I think for me, like I said, I'm looking at contracts daily now, because I'm saying if I've got a contract that wants 15%, 20% parts discount, but top line off me, and I'm only getting 10% on them parts, I'm not doing the contract anymore. From this week, we've said now, everyone, no, there's no parts discount anymore. Can't do it. If you want to take the job away, take it away. Can't do it. And I won't do it.
But the reality is, and this is the thing that, some of the things that I don't necessarily agree with, but sometimes when you look at the parts discount levels, you know what I mean? They are put into the contract to discourage repairers from just buying parts. If we make it so they can't make any money on parts, it forces them to have to repair more.
I agree with that, and I agree that even using or repairing other panels is a fantastic way of repairing cars. And I told you today, I spoke to a customer last week, can't get his door. He's more than happy to have a second-hand door put on his car, because he just wants his car back, and his car will be perfect. That it's off a perfectly good car, a donor car. So the problem is, again, I would be more than happy to do that and repair things if I'm making money. Now the problem is, on a lot of these contracts, they say go and get a used door, uplift it by 10%, but your bottom line discount is 20%. So I'm like, I can't win. It doesn't matter what I do. I'm losing money. So do you know what I'm trying to? The whole thing was looked at better. I would work to save insurers money as long as I'm making money.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah.
And I think we all would.
Yeah.
But these are things that insurers, I think, really need to sort of understand, you know, where we're all coming from, how we can make it better. You know, in 2001, Diamond versus Lavelle apparently killed the accident management industry. I looked at it and said, no, just that no one's being sensible. They're all fighting. They're all being idiots. I just went down with a plan and said, look, why don't we do this? You save loads of money. We make enough money to live, and we've got a happy ground. And they accepted it, and it's ran for 20 years. It can be done, but you've got to get the right people to sit in with. Unfortunately for me, it was 20 years ago. They're either dead or retired. So that doesn't help. But we need to sort of have these conversations where you and I, especially from being different backgrounds, I think is a very good good way of us sort of, you know, it's nice to hear your side and you're hearing my side. And I think we commonly want to meet in the middle.
Yeah.
We just want to make some money and look after customers. And the thing is that I hate about this industry, I think we really do look after customers well. The minute they have a smash, we're out, we collect it, we get it in, we give a great service. But I've always said when I first came into this industry that it's quite sickening to see the talent in there and to see it's a struggling industry.
Yeah.
But who knows?
And on that note, I would just turn around and say, plain and simple, some insurers do help you to realise the value. They do realise the value. And there's a lot of insurers that don't. You know, there's a lot more value to be realised within the accident repair industry. Yeah. And, you know, we've got to work together to realise that value. That's what we've got to do. Everyone, we can all operate and we can all make our little piece of the pie, if you like, and deliver that consumer service. And you know, we touched on it about the whole claim costs. Yeah. And we know that there's wastage within claims. You know, we know that there's other things, you know, that could be taken out that provide little or no value. Yeah. And put that money into better areas that do provide the value. And a lot of that is what the repairer themselves operate. Yes.
Yes. Well, I'm hoping I'm going to do it. We'll do one on that on the next show. Again, well done, guys. Thank you very much for joining in, everybody. It's been very, very good of you. Great to have you listening and watch. Superb debate. Hats off to Darren and Wayne for raising so many important issues. Many thanks. Thank you, guys. Thanks for joining in. It's your contributions that we love. Thanks, guys. Great chat. Well done, guys. Good discussion, ladies and gents. Thanks for contributing. Well done, Lee. Again, thanks for your time. You're more than welcome from me and Wayne. Well done, guys. Great discussion. Good luck. Daz, Wayne, brilliant discussion. Very relevant subjects. Well done, guys. Look at the people joining in. Yes, it's been a great night of that. Education. Love that, Gary Chu. And well done, guys. Some great comments from the audience. Again, guys and girls, it's every Tuesday night. We join in. We try and find something relevant to talk about. Anybody wants to come on the show? Anybody's got some relevant, some great topics? I can cover them with somebody like Wayne. We can join in. If anyone's like Wayne out there with a repair shop, wants to come on and have a debate, let's do it. It's gloves off. We like to talk about the industry. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been a ball. Wayne, again, thanks very much. I'm sure we'll talk soon enough. And very good luck with the MBRA. I think you'll, I'm hoping you'll do some, be a very good contribution to that. And we'll obviously talk soon enough. It's been great. Been a pleasure. We're out of here. Don't forget to join the social network for independent repairers. See you all.